How astronauts eat, sleep, and work for 8 months on the space station. Right now, 250 miles above Earth, astronauts are hurtling through space at 17,500 miles per hour. They eat floating food, sleep standing up, and work in conditions that would kill most people in seconds. This is life on the International Space Station. The International Space Station isn't just a laboratory, it's a home, a workplace, and a survival capsule all rolled into one. At this very moment, astronauts from different countries are living their entire lives in a module smaller than a 6-bedroom house, surrounded by the vacuum of space in every direction. These aren't tourists on a joyride. They're working around the clock, conducting experiments that could change humanity's future. They're maintaining systems that keep them alive, and they're doing it all while floating in zero gravity, where a single mistake could mean catastrophe. The numbers are staggering when you really think about them. The ISS orbits Earth every 90 minutes. That means astronauts see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every single day. They're traveling at speeds that would take you from New York to Los Angeles in 10 minutes. And they're doing it in a pressurized tin can that's been continuously occupied for over 23 years. If you have deep respect for these incredible humans pushing the boundaries of what's possible, type "respect" in the comments below. The food challenge, eating in zero gravity. So how do you eat when there's no gravity? The answer is more complicated and more fascinating than most people realize. Astronauts consume about 3.8 pounds of food per day. That might not sound like much, but multiply that by 7 crew members over 8 months, and you're talking about thousands of pounds of food that had to be launched into space at enormous cost. Every ounce matters when it costs roughly $10,000 to send 1 pound to orbit. The food itself would surprise you. These aren't the freeze-dried ice cream novelties you buy at museum gift shops. Modern space food includes everything from shrimp cocktail to beef stew, from scrambled eggs to chocolate pudding cake. There are over 200 different food items available on the ISS menu. But here's what makes eating in space so challenging. Without gravity, crumbs become dangerous projectiles. A floating breadcrumb can get sucked into air vents, damage equipment, or even get into an astronaut's eyes or lungs. That's why bread is forbidden on the ISS. Instead, astronauts use tortillas, which don't create crumbs and can be used to wrap other foods. Liquids are even trickier. You can't pour a glass of water in zero gravity. The water would form floating spheres that drift around the cabin. So all liquids come in sealed pouches with straws. Coffee, tea, juice, even soup. Everything gets sipped through a straw to prevent liquid droplets from escaping. Salt and pepper exist only in liquid form on the ISS. Sprinkle regular salt in zero gravity and you've just created a cloud of tiny crystals floating through the air. The solution is salt water and pepper sauce that can be applied directly to food without creating airborne particles. The galley on the ISS is nothing like a kitchen on Earth. It's a small area with a water dispenser that can provide hot or cold water and a convection oven that heats food packages. There's no refrigerator, no freezer, no stovetop. Everything is either shelf-stable or arrives frozen on resupply missions and gets consumed quickly. Meal preparation is a carefully choreographed process. Astronauts select their meals weeks before launch, choosing from the available menu to create a rotation that provides proper nutrition and variety. Each food package is labeled with the astronaut's name and the day it should be eaten. To prepare a meal, astronauts inject hot water into dehydrated food packages, wait several minutes for rehydration, then cut open the package and eat directly from it using a spoon or fork. Utensils are magnetic so they don't float away between bites. But here's something most people don't realize. Food tastes different in space. The fluid shift caused by zero gravity makes astronauts feel congested, similar to having a head cold. This dulls their sense of taste and smell. That's why astronauts often prefer spicier foods and stronger flavors. Hot sauce is one of the most requested items on the ISS. Eating together is important for crew morale. Despite their busy schedules, astronauts make time to gather for meals, floating around a table with their food packages velcroed down. These shared meals provide crucial social connection during months of isolation. The sleeping paradox. Rest without down. Where do you sleep when there's no up or down? How do you rest when your body doesn't know which way is which? Astronauts sleep in phone booth-sized crew quarters, essentially vertical sleeping bags attached to the wall. But calling them vertical is misleading because in zero gravity, there is no vertical. An astronaut sleeping standing up feels exactly the same as sleeping lying down on Earth. Each crew quarter is a private space about the size of a small closet. Inside, there's a sleeping bag tethered to the wall, a laptop computer, personal storage, and a small window. That window becomes incredibly important. After weeks in the confined spaces of the ISS, being able to look out at Earth or the stars provides a psychological lifeline. The sleeping arrangements might seem cramped, but they're actually a luxury compared to earlier space missions. On the space shuttle, astronauts slept wherever they could find space, sometimes literally floating in mid-air with a sleep mask and ear pipe. The ISS crew quarters offer privacy and personal space that previous generations of astronauts never had. But sleeping in space presents unique challenges that most people never consider. Without gravity pulling you down onto a mattress, you never feel that comfortable pressure of lying in bed. Your arms float up in front of you unless you tuck them into the sleeping bag. Your spine elongates because gravity isn't compressing it, which can cause back pain. The sleep schedule itself is carefully managed. Mission Control maintains a 24-hour day cycle for the crew, even though they're experiencing 16 sunrises and sunsets. Astronauts typically work from 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, with scheduled meal breaks and exercise periods. Sleep quality in space is notoriously poor. Studies show astronauts average only about 6 hours of sleep per night, even though they're scheduled for 8.5 hours. The constant noise from fans, pumps, and life support systems makes the ISS louder than a busy office. Astronauts wear earplugs and sleep masks, but the environment is far from ideal. The psychological impact of sleeping in space goes beyond physical discomfort. You're sleeping in a place where a hull breach could kill you in seconds. You're floating in a metal tube traveling at 17,500 miles per hour. You're farther from help than any human has ever been for extended periods. That knowledge affects sleep in ways that are hard to quantify. Some astronauts report vivid dreams in space. Others say they dream less. The disruption to circadian rhythms caused by seeing sunrise every 90 minutes affects sleep patterns in ways scientists are still studying. The research conducted on astronaut sleep is helping improve sleep medicine for people on Earth. The work. Science in the most extreme laboratory. The International Space Station isn't just a place to live, it's the most advanced research laboratory ever built, and the experiments conducted there are pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Astronauts work approximately 6.5 hours per day on science experiments, station maintenance, and exercise. That might not sound like much, but everything takes longer in zero gravity. A task that takes 10 minutes on Earth might take 30 minutes in space. The research conducted on the ISS spans dozens of scientific disciplines. Biology experiments study how cells, plants, and animals adapt to microgravity. Physics experiments investigate combustion, fluid dynamics, and materials science in ways impossible on Earth. Medical research examines how the human body changes during long-duration spaceflight. Some of the most important research focuses on the astronauts themselves. Every crew member is both scientist and test subject. Their bodies are constantly monitored to understand how space affects human physiology. Bone density scans, cardiovascular tests, vision checks, and cognitive assessments happen regularly throughout the mission. The findings are sobering. Astronauts lose about 1% of their bone mass per month in space. Their hearts become more spherical because they don't have to pump blood against gravity. Their vision can deteriorate due to fluid pressure on the optic nerve. Radiation exposure increases cancer risk. These aren't minor inconveniences. They're serious medical challenges that must be solved before humans can travel to Mars. But the work isn't all about science experiments. Station maintenance consumes enormous amounts of crew time. The ISS is a complex machine with over 350,000 sensors, 8 miles of electrical wiring, and countless systems that require constant attention. Air filters need changing. Water recycling systems need maintenance. The carbon dioxide scrubbers that keep the air breathable require regular servicing. Solar panels need adjusting. Cooling systems need monitoring. The list never ends. Spacewalks, officially called extravehicular activities, or EVAs, represent some of the most dangerous and demanding work astronauts perform. Preparing for a single spacewalk takes weeks of planning and hours of preparation. The astronauts must pre-breathe pure oxygen to prevent decompression sickness, don spacesuits that are essentially personal spacecraft, and then spend 6 to 8 hours working in the vacuum of space. During a spacewalk, astronauts are tethered to the station, but they're still exposed to temperature extremes, ranging from minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit in shadow to plus 250 degrees in sunlight. One small tear in the spacesuit could be fatal. The concentration required is immense. The work schedule is relentless. Astronauts work 6 days a week, with only Sundays partially off for personal time and housekeeping. Even on their day off, they're still responsible for daily maintenance tasks and exercise requirements. Communication with mission control happens continuously. Ground teams monitor every system, provide guidance for experiments, and coordinate the complex schedule that keeps the station running. The partnership between crew and ground is essential for mission success. Staying healthy, the exercise imperative. Exercise isn't optional on the ISS. It's a medical necessity that could mean the difference between walking off the spacecraft after landing or being carried off on a stretcher. Astronauts must exercise 2.5 hours every single day. This isn't a suggestion, it's a requirement backed by decades of research showing what happens to the human body in zero gravity without exercise. The ISS has 3 main exercise devices. The treadmill allows astronauts to run while strapped down with bungee cords that simulate body weight. The stationary bike provides cardiovascular exercise. And the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, or ARED, is essentially a weight machine that uses vacuum cylinders to create resistance up to 600 pounds. But exercising in space is nothing like working out on Earth. Running on the treadmill means being strapped down with a harness that pulls you toward the running surface. The impact is different. The biomechanics are different. And the treadmill vibrates the entire station, so astronauts can only use it during certain hours to avoid disrupting experiments. The exercise schedule is carefully planned and monitored. Each astronaut has a personalized program designed to maintain bone density, muscle mass, and cardiovascular fitness. Mission Control tracks their workouts and adjusts the program based on medical data. Despite these efforts, astronauts still return to Earth significantly weakened. After 8 months in space, standing up feels like lifting a crushing weight. Walking requires relearning balance. Some astronauts need wheelchairs immediately after landing. Full recovery can take months. The bathroom situation. Waste management in space. Let's address what everyone wonders about but few discuss. How do astronauts use the bathroom in zero gravity? The toilet on the ISS is a marvel of engineering that cost $19 million to develop. It uses airflow instead of water to move waste away from the body. Astronauts position themselves over a small opening about 4 inches in diameter and use foot restraints and handholds to stay in place. For liquid waste, a hose with a funnel attachment uses suction to pull urine away. Each astronaut has a personal funnel attachment sized for their anatomy. The urine doesn't get dumped overboard. It gets processed through the water recycling system and eventually becomes drinking water. That's right, astronauts drink recycled urine. The water reclamation system on the ISS can recover about 90% of all water-based liquids, including urine, sweat, and even moisture from exhaled breath. The recycled water is cleaner and purer than most tap water on Earth. Solid waste is handled differently. It gets collected in bags, sealed, and stored in containers that are eventually loaded onto cargo spacecraft and burned up during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Personal hygiene in space requires creativity. There are no showers on the ISS. Instead, astronauts use wet wipes, rinseless shampoo, and small amounts of water to stay clean. They brush their teeth normally but swallow the toothpaste instead of spitting it out. Laundry doesn't exist in space. It would require too much water. Astronauts wear the same clothes for several days, then dispose of them in the trash. Underwear and socks get changed every few days. Shirts and pants last about a week. Exercise clothes get changed after every workout because they become soaked with sweat. The psychological challenge: isolation and confinement. Living in space for 8 months isn't just physically demanding, it's psychologically challenging in ways that are hard for people on Earth to comprehend. You're living in a space smaller than a large house with 6 other people. You can't go outside. You can't open a window. You can't take a walk. You can't have a private conversation without everyone hearing. The same faces, the same walls, the same routine, day after day after day. Communication with family happens through scheduled video calls and emails, but there's a delay and limited bandwidth. You miss birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, and life events. You watch your children grow up through pixelated video screens. The view of Earth provides some psychological relief. Astronauts report that looking down at the planet, seeing the thin blue line of atmosphere that protects all life, creates a profound shift in perspective. This overview effect, as it's called, gives many astronauts a deep sense of connection to humanity and the fragility of our world. But the isolation is real, the confinement is real, and the pressure is constant. NASA carefully screens astronauts for psychological resilience, but 8 months in space tests anyone's mental strength. Crew dynamics become crucial. These 7 people must work together flawlessly. Conflicts must be resolved quickly and professionally. The social skills required are as important as the technical skills. The danger: living on the edge. Every moment on the ISS carries risk. The station is traveling through a shooting gallery of space debris and micrometeoroids. A piece of debris the size of a marble could punch through the hull and cause catastrophic decompression. The ISS has been hit by small debris multiple times. Windows have been chipped, solar panels have been damaged. In 2021, the crew had to shelter in place when a Russian anti-satellite weapons test created a debris field that threatened the station. Fire is one of the most feared emergencies in space. In zero gravity, flames behave differently, forming spheres instead of rising upward. A fire could quickly consume the oxygen and fill the station with toxic smoke. Astronauts train extensively for fire emergencies, but the danger is always present. Ammonia leaks from the cooling system could poison the atmosphere. Computer failures could disable critical systems. Medical emergencies far from any hospital could prove fatal. The list of potential disasters is long and sobering. Yet astronauts accept these risks because they believe in the mission. They understand that expanding humanity's presence in space requires someone to go first, to test the limits, to learn the hard lessons that will make future missions safer. Life on the International Space Station pushes human endurance to its absolute limits. These astronauts aren't just surviving in space. They're thriving, conducting groundbreaking research, and proving that humanity's future extends far beyond Earth's atmosphere.